Hi, and welcome to all you modelling legends to the Missing Detail Scale Modelling channel. So, moving on with these projects, I want to try and close up the interior of the BF109E Special Hobby kit. Special Hobby is the E is a kit designed and also sold by Eduard. So, it should be a fairly easy task. And what I want to do, I just want to clean up where the paint's gone. This. Just want to clean up where the paint is sprayed into the joining edges. So I'm just going to drag the knife. Now, this is the 15 scalpel. 15 scalpel blade is probably got to be up there. It's probably number 4 or 5 on me tool league table. It's just amazing because you can, every part of the blade you can use without risk of dragging the tip or the heel of the blade into the model itself. Okay, just here I'm gonna just, it's an Eduard kit, so there might not be any trouble with a little bit of overspray paint building up a micro layer and causing an expansion of the parts. But forewarned now is going to save us in the future. Forewarned now will be forearmed. That's what the saying is. So I've dragged, I've pushed. It would take just a tiny micro layer of the plastic off. That's absolutely fine as well. So as I run the knife into the edge, I'm going to cut down the edge to remove that. Same again the other side. I have already done one dry fit. I know that around the just past the headrest is an absolute immaculate fit with the paint on, so I'm going to leave that as it is because I don't want to create a gap where I don't need it. Normally I'd cut these location pins off just because they tend not to help. Like I said, I've dry fitted once already, so I know it's actually pretty good. Just have another scrape just down that edge. And that soft brush, I use a bamboo toothbrush actually, a soft bristled one. Anything I missed, just a little bit in there. Okay, here's the tub. I haven't put the back part in all the seat because I want to make sure I get it nicely aligned. There's nothing worse than building up the tub, all those hours of work, just to find out the seat is skew width and looks terrible. So, just like the interior, I'm going to scrape off a small layer of paint build up. So interior, just like the, try not to drop it, just like the sidewalls. Again along this edge. And the experts amongst you might realise that there's some extra details here that are painted up that run past the cockpit opening itself. I'm not sure if it's a wise move. I'm going to attempt to have everything open on this aircraft. I see, because I'd already stuck the backrest in. I know that's dead straight. You know, I could follow that alignment, gully, and make sure that was stuck in, not skew with, so when the other half goes on, it's perfectly lined up. I may have to add a little bit of paint. Although the back of the canopy might go in there, but technically the back frame of the canopy would be interior colour, so it might need a little bit of paint on. We'll get to that later. Here's the beautiful looking interior with all the super lightened colours and the excessive highlighting. I think we've kind of done what we can to help it show through when it becomes dark and closed up. Right, so I'm quite happy with. Just want to check what it looks like there. There's a spar. I guess that needs to be lined up with that. What I kind of intend to do is to get the tub and the sides together using extra thin. Then before it's fully cured, which is probably about half an hour, I can still jiggle it around. Just checking through on the interior instructions for anything I need to be aware of. It's kind of showing the engine wants to be in place as well, so might just have a little dry fit and play to see if it does have to go in before. Okay, so it's not quite right there. That wasn't my belly, that was the grumpy dog. He's a good boy though. Okay, grumpy boy. Okay. Let's get this engine. Just managed to break a bit off, but that's fine. So, excuse the breakage. Yeah, it's not quite as dirty as it wants to be yet. I want the engine casing to be fairly have a fair sheen, so I'm quite happy with that. So let's have a little dry fit. Hopefully I can put this engine in after. Okay, so that's come off. Let's just check the reference to see exactly where these engine spars or supports connect. Okay, it appears to be just underneath. Let's Let's glue this one back in place, I think. Oh, extra thin. Number 2 tool. Okay, so let's tidy it up a little bit. Okay, right, dry for a sec. Maybe I'll try stick this piece back on as well. Kind of wish now I'd replaced these thin bits with brass rod because I'm drilled them in because they're actually constantly snapping. Now the main feature and the thing I really want to show you about this 109 is it's possibly the hardest fuselage halves to fit. That is because normally we want to join it and get rid of the seam line. The 109, it has a panel line down the spine and underneath, so you can research that, or we can currently just use the well drawn instructions and you see, like here, it represents what is representing blue lines is it's representing the panel lines. So in which case the seam line isn't showing you what you've just glued, it's showing you that is a panel line. Again, on the top, always representing in that picture is panel lines. So that must be a panel line on the top. So why is it difficult to achieve that? Now if you glue it and press it hard, the way, you know, if you melt it with a hot glue, i.e. extra thin, and you squeeze it hard, you're going to fill that panel line up. And also when we actually dry fit, what we're checking is there actually a panel line there? Now that to me looks like when I glue that up, there's going to be no panel line actually there. So what you're trying to do is dry fit to see if this panel line you're trying to represent has been properly and evenly scored, or however we're going to do it. Now I had this with the Eduard F and G, and I just had to come in and tidy up. And you want to do this in a consistent way so that it appears like it's a manufactured panel edge, not a rough scoring down the edge. So I'm just dragging the flat edge blade, the 10A, 10A is probably about tool number 9. Now I want to do a small amount. I want to notice that this here will probably be filled, and we'll eradicate the seam line. Let's just check our reference. It shows a panel line up there as well. Okay. Just checking on our drawing here. On our drawing here is probably the best place actually to see the panel lines if we can. This is showing a panel line edge. The way I know it isn't just randomly showing seam lines and panel lines, is through the middle here. There's panels that stretch across both sides of the fuselage. Right, so that's the top. I want to make sure it's smooth as well. Okay, that was a mistake. See that a knife on, so that's going to take a bit of filler to get rid of that scratch mark I just put in. No biggie, things that happen. Maybe a brush off. Maybe enough to clean it up. So we want it sharp. So maybe a lesser grit sanding stick might just clean it up. Just literally try the polishing one. Yeah, that's perfect. Just to remove any bird edge. Now I know I haven't done the other side, but I'm just going to check it in case I've removed too much. Okay, we can drop the bottom out. Okay, so barely a panel line, so it needs some more. This is the side I hadn't done, so I'm looking to remove equal parts from both sides. The key here is to try and get it done not in a one swipe, but fairly swiftly. That way we can attempt to hold the knife at the right angle, or the consistent angle the whole time. Just checking, that might have been the same side, yeah, okay. Right, this is the other side. This is easier because there's no locating pins. Like I say, we want to work swiftly and try and hold the knife at the same angle the whole way along. Again, little brush up. Seems to remove a lot of the burring. Okay, let's come out. Just gentle with Sanding. Trying to be careful, not like that. Right, so hopefully we've now got a better defined panel line. It's the bottom. It's a nice consistent edge to it. Hopefully the top looks that good. Yep, I'm over with that. Looking at the width for the other panel lines, moulding the kit, I think that's about the right size. I'm gonna have to check some reference because I'm not sure if the panel line stops here, but I can always put that in. You know, I can't imagine there's. It could be a panel line this lower piece, but definitely not the stabilizer. Right, so that was fairly easy, but you know, even if it takes 10 dry fits back and forth, it's well worth getting that right, because once it's joined together, it's a case of rescribing it, which is well doable. But if you're going to use hot glue, you're going to have to wait for a day or so to let that properly cure before you can get in there, because otherwise you're going to be dealing with soft plastic. And just try and tidy out. There seem to be a few scuffs and whatnot. Right, I'll brush off. What I'll do at some point during the construction with the interior, maybe not so with this one because it's all going to be open, but say if I'm doing a big greenhouse canopy on, say, an RAF bomber or something, just before I close that canopy up, I'll spray some matte varnish into there. And what that does for me is it will, the dust I haven't been able to get rid of, it would tie it all down. So I don't end up with flecks of dust on the canopy which can no longer be reached. So yeah, just before I close up, I'll squirt some varnish into the cockpit just to try and set anything that's floating about. Okay, so we can go ahead now and stick the canopy floor in. I'm going to stick the seat in last because I want to make sure he's not skew with. Okay, lovely fit. Go ahead and so I think our engine braces want to go into here and here, which may be fairly interesting. Just checking the instructions that there's not anything else that needs to be put in. I've got a feeling maybe the back wheel, yes. So rear wheel is needed. That'll give me a chance just to let that dry a second. So this should be the rear wheel, which I think is painted. No, that's the rear wheel for the F. Okay, seen it somewhere because it's got a distinctive attachment. Okay, doesn't actually seem to be there. It's easy to find because it's the only rear wheel of the 4 kits. I think, I don't know about the F. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the only rear wheel that's RMO2. So he's already painted up. He's not really weathered yet, but sometimes I would brass rod this so the attachment is in there, but the wheel's separate, and I could just join on afters. But I'm pretty confident I'm gonna not knock it off or break it off as I'm working on this model. Just removing any debris. It's not the most ideal way of attaching the rear wheel, to be honest, because you've now got nothing to keep this wheel vertical against a horizontal surface, and yet you need to make these two wheels, these two pins, go into the other half of the fuselage, which means you probably want to crack on now. Let's attempt to put that engine in. Are those struts going to break off again? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because one side's only just been glued back on, I'm just going to attempt to sand these a little bit. Now, there's, unlike the Eduard kit, a lot of the seam lines and there are some fairly raised, dodgy seam lines on. I don't know if it's because it's, I mean, Eduard have released this kit as well, so maybe the mold's got a bit old already, I don't know, but it's a shame. But yeah, you really got to look out for raised mating edges and stuff, so you don't end up with a problem further down the line. Right, let's try again. Okay. So tool number 2 is required. It needs to fit just in there, which is not mad happy about. Okay, seems better that side. Okay, feels like a bit of play there now. I think what I'm going to do is just come and take some of this. There's a little. Okay, it's like a little edge here. It's just. It's not happy to sit in there. I'm just going to take off. Just a small amount. Be nice if it does. If it does, mate up with the engine strut or brace without no gap. So just a little bit. Tool number 2. Right, see, that's set on top of that. Much happier now. It's not quite so tight. The engine. Well, that side there isn't perfect. Okay, well, I think I'll be happier to fill that in if I have to once the other side's on. So I'm going to go ahead now and try and get the other half on. Again, like I said, I've left the alignment pins on. I managed to get that rear wheels alignment pins in. Okay, this is just a dry fit. Now what isn't happy is the front. Okay, I think I can see why. Obviously the exhaust need to meet up with the engine. The backs of the exhaust, you don't need a gap there because otherwise it would look ridiculous, but yeah, that's interesting. Just going to take notice of how much. So we're looking at about a mil, which isn't great. Right. So as tempting as it is, I think, although it does appear to be okay on that side. The prop shaft is halfway along the fuselage to my eye. So I'm going to leave that side, leave the engine in. I'm going to just work on the back of these exhaust manifolds. A mil is quite a lot. So I'm just going to take a bit off and then attempt to dry fit it again. I maybe should have painted these, but I can always get in there with some oils, and what oil goes into the wrong place I can just clean off with a moistened brush. Right, so the alignment pin lugs are main up, and that has actually helped a fair bit. I'm just going to hold it and wiggle this engine. Okay, what I'm going to do now, just to be sure, is I'm going to. So it is quite tight in there still. Remove the engine. Move some of the material from the other side. I suppose the engine exhaust manifolds mating up with the back of the exhaust isn't a massive thing, as long as there's not a huge gap, because you won't see light through the bottom, so it would look like it's matched up or mated up. Okay, now you see that will close perfectly, so something's not particularly happy. Now what it could be is the bottom of this. So as the bottom's not going to be seen, I may just remove some of it. So if I go back here, I'm gonna hold my finger there because I don't want to take any material from above that in a minute, because that will be seen and cause me to have to repaint. But if anything, it's going to be this side bit, just fouling up on the inside of the fuselage half. brush off just to remove some bits. Let's have another little try. I think this will actually be my first ever model with an exposed engine. Admittedly, I maybe should have bought a blasting one, but it's fairly decent. Okay, what I'm gonna I'm just noticing that maybe that side is a little bit prouder than the pot in the engine mount. So just a little bit, because you will sand off a lot of material quickly with a good sharp sanding stick. Okay, so I might just come in there, and it's going to be a sliver, but I just want to take off tiniest little bit. That. No, it's tight. Well, it's not tight. It's in there with very minimal wiggle room, so that's potentially looking better. Okay, still a little. Still trying to work out. Okay, it does seem to be. Okay. Now, what's quite tricky here is these engine mounts. Kind of want to deform a little bit. Okay, right. Right, so I've got a bit of a gap this side, but not this side. So kind of what that's telling me is that this is fouling first. It's not pushing enough. So I'm going to ease the engine in. And I'm going to go back and work on the back side of the exhaust. Slightly longer video than I anticipated, but it's kind of just showing you the process of not throwing your toys out of the pram, trying to evaluate the situation, trying something in a small way, not just lobbing loads of material off, trying to fit again. And hopefully we get the result we want. And all this is, rather than forcing this, I could just squeeze it hard and glue it, but that's potentially going to cause other parts not to fit. Okay, just going to run the flat blade across it now, just because it's going to pick up any glazed areas. Make sure there's no swarf under there, because we're not going to be able to get it back out. I mean, the exhausts are protruding well, so again, would have been nice to have had brass in exhausts. Yeah, I think I might do some creative painting just to try and paint in the. I have before drilled these out because they're not circular. They're a bit of effort. And again, unless you look at it from quite low down, it's quite hard to see. Right, so another dry fit. So it's dry fit number 5 or something. Back end's all beautiful. Okay, still just a little gap. It has closed down quite a lot. Okay, right. What I want to check is that because the front of this fuselage is pretty skinny in terms of this bit here, you could pretty much make that to conform to what you wanted and not be straight anymore. So I might just use the top cover just to help to see if that's now still straight, which it is. So that's good news. So as we can see, if this didn't fit, or if we forced it, it's not going to particularly fit this anymore. And also, what it's showing me now is that it probably doesn't want to be much more closed up anyway, because that is where this is sitting. Okay. So I'm just going to look to see what else mounts underneath there to see if we're going to cause any problems. No, must be something. No, what goes in there? Hair in that or something, or yeah, I mean, it should. You always do a bit of meshing there, I thought. Okay, I think what I'm going to do with what that was showing me is that I'd rather fill this gap to an extent than not have. Yeah, if the engine looks terrible, I can just pose the model with top cover on. So, alright, let's do it. Alright, so the most visible place is around the cockpit. Yeah. I think what I'll do is I'll probably PVA the seating, so I get a bit of wiggle room with that. Alright. So now what we're looking at is these panel lines want to be lined up. I think that's it. And we don't want to flood it. Normally I'd never use extra thin to close up an aircraft. Normally I might use extra thin just to tack it in place, and then I'd come in there with black super glue and maybe some CA filler mixed in just to seal it up. That way you don't get any ghost seams appearing later down, months down the road, which look awful. And just checking the profile, it's lined up. Not squeezing too hard. Don't want the melted plastic to fill that power line or squirt out that power line. Just like that. Progress now up into the rear stabilizer. Just be careful not to press too hard. We may as well. Normally I'd work down the nose and under, but as there's nothing on the top there, I'm going to actually do the back end of the fuselage first. I'm checking the profile is correct. There's no step. This way sometimes it's good to just whip off the alignment pins. Looks better. Right. Just want to glue it. We don't want to be squeezing melted plastic out of it. I can have a few seconds. That seems good. Now what I'm going to do is put the front engine cover on as my guide as to how closed up this wants to be. And that goes on, just checking, that goes on very nicely. I mean, you could have that so it's just removable, which might be the way. So what I'm going to do then is, as this isn't perfect, I don't want to distort things. First blob of glue is going to be on the inside, just down in there, likewise. So it's off camera, so a bit of glue just down in there. We can stick some in there. Possibly even just a tiny bit, because it's already painted, so we don't want it to affect the paint. The engine mounts. Just trying to dry that off because I don't want it to damage the edges of the cowling cover, the engine cover. And now I'm just going to squeeze it. So it's to where I think this is closed up. Just checking the pop shaft. in the middle. Okay. Okay, right, so I'm going to stay here holding this now for 5 minutes, and then that'll be the fuselage closed up. The only other thing to put in is the seat. Probably have the canopy open so the seat can probably go in after, masking this off so I can spray it. So that might go in as one of the final assemblies. Just have a little check that I've not got a step in the front. That seems good. Okay, thanks to Modding Legends for watching our video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.